convene in regular session the regular meeting of the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority of Crescent City in the County of Del Norte. And we will begin with roll call, if we could, please.
Commissioner Howard. Present. Commissioner McClure. Here. Commissioner Inscore.
Here.
Commissioner Gastineau.
Here.
All right. Let's all join in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would. And pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Yes. All right, we will open up for public comment. Any member of the public may address the Solid Waste Management Authority on any matter on or off the agenda. After receiving recognition from myself, if you'd please give your name and address for the record, and we will try to limit our comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment this afternoon? Yeah.
Hello,
Hi.
Eileen Cooper, and the afternoon off and downtown, so I thought I'd visit you with ideas that have been stirring within. So I was at the Harbor Art Gallery when they were presenting over recently for the last event down in the park, and they are really wanting to outreach and find public projects, and I thought something that I've thought about for a while is that the public outreach would be nice to have on the blank wall surrounding the transfer station. There's many different panels, and each one could be devoted to a different aspect of recycling, reuse. There could be grants available for individual panels that deal with a certain topic, and the value of reducing waste, and just a great public outreach project that I thought would be a great match with the Harbor Gallery, and if you were interested, I could put something together to present to the gallery, and it seemed like a great relationship to have, and free public education. The wall sits blank right now, and there's tremendous traffic along that road, so I encourage that. And the other idea is a different topic, but it seems to me that we're having difficulty right now with recycling, cutting back a lot of items, and how to get more value into recycled waste. And so for years we were trained to separate our trash and give it high value. And then all of a sudden we mix everything together, which is known to degrade the value of recycled products. But we still have this great desire and training as citizens for years, separating things. I still keep it separate under my cupboard, and then it all goes in and this seems like a waste of good community citizenry effort. And so 2 ways that we could improve the quality is either requiring everything be separated in our bins. Just plastics go in a plastic bag. Paper gets separated. It already is. Metals in a different little bag. And it's all separated in the can. The other idea is to devote each week of the month to a different recycled product. And we still make the same trips, but the value is 100-fold increase, from all mixed trash. So I encourage us to look into improving the quality of our recycled product by improving separation.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment this afternoon? Seeing no other public comment, I'll close public comment. We'll come back to our regular agenda. We will take first the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda to approve our minutes from our previous meeting, to receive and file an agreement with the Forest Service and National Forests, as well as a budget transfer in the amount of $39,695.
Move to approve consent agenda items 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Any discussion? And if you please poll the vote.
Commissioner McClure,
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore,
Yes.
Commissioner Gastineau,
Yes.
Commissioner Napa,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Very good. We're going to move on to our regular, we were going to move on to our regular agenda, but we're going to mix things up a little bit, and we're going to adjourn as the Solid Waste Management Authority and reconvene as the Vehicle Abatement Authority, so that we can address some business from a timely standpoint. So we're adjourned, and now that we are all here, if the record would reflect that all members are present of the Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Authority. This is items 7.1 and 7.2 on your agenda if you're following along. Mr. Ward, would you like to address these for us, please?
Yes. The bulk of item 7.1 is a revised, first amended joint powers agreement for the Del Norte County Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Authority, which this board also serves as the board for, and the Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Plan, Service Authority Plan for 2016. Both of these documents have been reviewed and approved separately by the Board of Supervisors and the Crescent City Council, and so they are effective as of now. Within the JPA document is a requirement that this board adopt the annual budget. That hasn't happened for several years, but now the fiscal year has begun, and we have the budget that was presented to the city and the county, but this board has not yet adopted it, and unfortunately I have not yet had time to publicize it as it should be publicly noticed, and then we go through a hearing process. And I'd like our legal counsel, Martha Rice, to explain what exactly are the steps we need to follow in order to adopt this budget.
Both the JPA and the government code regarding joint powers authorities requires that this board adopt the annual budget. My recommendation for process would be to simply follow the noticing and public hearing process that the Solid Waste Management Authority follows. It would be one publication, notice of public hearing in the newspaper, and then a public hearing followed by the adoption of the budget. So I think we could accomplish this all at the next meeting in November.
Okay.
And expenses up until that time, if the AVA has expenses, how would you recommend that we address those?
Well, the adoption of the budget is the AVA spending authority, so until this board adopts the budget, I wouldn't recommend making any expenditures.
Okay.
And we have Community Development Director Heidi Kunstall and Code Enforcement Officer Dominic Mello here.
The budget needed to be adopted by the AVA Service Authority until recently, and we have made some expenditures because the fiscal year began on 7/1, and there's been a backlog of vehicles, and we've actually haven't towed more than 1 or 2 that were actually committed to during the prior fiscal year, but we have had some expenses for RV pumps and disposal fees at the Solid Waste Authority and at Curry Transfer. It's just under $1,000, but that's where we are today. Just wanted you to know that. And we have, I mean, we could completely, do a spreadsheet, explain every cent we've spent, so you know how it has been spent.
Would it be okay to retroactively approve such expenses?
Yeah, there wouldn't be a problem with the, it's not like they couldn't be paid for out of the budget or out of the AVA money, but I wouldn't expend the AVA money until that budget's approved, and then it could, go back and pay for all those expenses. But my understanding is some of it's already been transferred, and we'll just have to deal with
Yeah,
that.
the claims have been paid. Okay. All right, yeah, because obviously, we've been waiting, because of the tow agreement, we haven't been able to do any tows. And so, again, back to the backlog, and so now we're looking at October, but at least we know what we have to deal with, so, thank you.
So on this item 7.1, really there's nothing more than acknowledging and receiving and filing the first amended joint powers agreement and the service authority plan, and direct staff to issue public notices for the public hearing for adoption of the AVA budget at the next meeting.
Seeing no questions, consensus is to direct staff to do so. We'll receive and file, and please publish so that we can have this taken care of at our next meeting.
Okay, great. The next item is the towing agreement, and the staff was directed to discuss with Mr. Clay, Northcrest Auto Center, about why the cost had increased, and I exchanged emails with Mr. Mello, and he essentially already had that conversation, so it seemed to make the most sense to have him come and report back rather than me repeating it. So, Mr. Mello?
Initially, I was disappointed to see such increases on the tow contract. It limits how far our money can go to provide the service to the community. But once I stepped back, and looked at it further, a lot of the increases range from 15 to 20%, which sounds like a lot. But when it comes down to dollar amount, they're $10 to $15 increases, so it wasn't that substantial until we get to Tow Zone 5, which covers south of the Klamath River, and we've seen a 67% increase for the cost of towing trailers, which that was substantial, and that's really going to cut into the fund. There's quite a need down in the Klamath area for towing abandoned trailers. So in discussing it with Mr. Clay, valid point, a lot of the trailers down there in real rough condition. They could be in multiple pieces. We've had some arson cases down there. They're commonly filled with trash, so it really extends the man hours on his part and the equipment he needs to take down there. So from my point of view, he justified that increase over that. The other increase I had concerns with was the secondary tow from Curry Transfer, which jumped from $245 to $450. Now that was a substantial increase, and we challenged that one. And he agreed to reduce that. I think if he matches the Zone 5 price, that would be appropriate.
Okay.
What amount would that be now?
For Zone 5, it's $375 per tow.
Oh, okay,
It was initially $225.
okay. It's still a sizable increase.
So have we ever talked with the Yurok tribe about any kind of availability that they may have for vehicle abatement, that we could partner with them?
I have met with Mr. Patterson down there, the environmental specialist, and it comes back to money. They're
Right.
frustrated with the situation down there, and we're looking to us to assist, and which we have the AVA budget to assist with that, but how
It
far
would be
we can
spent
make
one
it.
day in Klamath possibly, if we took care of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have enough to clean.
But they don't have any grant money. I guess what I'm asking is, are they searching for any kind of vehicle abatement or environmental cleanup monies that could possibly assist in this?
We've shared with them the farm and ranch grant information. They may pursue that. I don't know.
Okay, because that would be helpful. Thank you.
So the action here would be to authorize signatures on a final negotiated agreement with Northcrest Auto Center to provide towing services for the Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Authority.
Okay. But yeah,
I had a question.
yes.
So as far as Klamath, is this like agreement exclusive, or could we go ahead and see if we can find something cheaper, meaning like someone from maybe Humboldt County taking care of that, and then just utilize those services if we do find them cheaper?
We had not explored the process of looking at a towing company from Humboldt County in detail. I don't have any numbers about that. Part of the issue is, as we've discussed, an impound yard close to where the vehicle is being towed from. And that challenge exists for all towing companies, because whether they're in Crescent City or in Klamath or in Brookings or in Humboldt, they all need to have a place where they can tow California vehicles, where they can sit there while the paperwork gets processed. And so just on the surface of it, I would be somewhat surprised if Humboldt County towing companies would offer us any cost savings, because they would be towing to an impound yard in Humboldt County. And so they would have the same sort of distance, time challenges. But if that is the interest of the board, we could pursue that.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, then I would take a motion to approve the agreement and fix the necessary signatures with North Coast Auto to serve as our towing company for the abatement service. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing none, any final words from the board? All right, please poll the vote.
Commissioner Inscore.
Yes.
Commissioner Gastineau.
Yes.
Commissioner Naffa.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner McClure.
Yes.
All right, very good. We're going to adjourn as the Abatement Authority and reconvene as the Solid Waste Management Authority. Thanks for coming. We'll pay you as soon as we can. All right. That is. Yeah. I didn't say that, but that's all right. We're going to return to our regular agenda, and we will take the director's and treasurer's report.
Okay.
Feel free to leave out items 7, 1, and 2.
All right, thank you, sir. On September 10th, we had the first time that we had convened both the household hazardous waste event and the mattress recycling event on the same day at the same time. And both were fairly successful. At the household hazardous waste event, we provide service to 157 vehicles compared to 141 last year. And at the mattress recycling event, we received 269 mattresses, including 18 collected by Recology Del Norte from their customers. And of these, 239 were sent for recycling. For comparison, we brought in just a little bit more than that during our first event. We brought in 275 mattresses. We're thinking that these events are going to be approximately quarterly, but we have not yet scheduled the next one.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ward.
Please.
Do you recollect approximately how many of the first set were recyclable? I'm just wondering if the percentage of ones that end up getting kicked out is about the same, or do you remember?
It was about the same. I'd have to look back at that. I didn't write down that number in the report.
Okay, thank you.
But generally, most of them are recyclable unless they're
Yeah.
really, really dirty, and we certainly make that effort. And appreciate Liz Wagner from the Mattress Recycling Council coming up and helping us with that. And then the Mattress Recycling Council also chipped in for some of the ads promoting the mattress recycling event.
deal.
So generally a good partnership. We're all still really interested in trying to figure out a way to provide this as a daily service, but we haven't quite figured that out yet. But those discussions continue. Good news this week, though.
Yeah.
Finances, good news. Our landfill has now been dropped from a 1A to a 2A, meaning that our threat and complexity rating has been dropped, and consequently, our waste discharge requirements fee has been dropped. Furthermore, according to the State Water Resources Board, we can expect a refund eventually of $5,880 from the payments we made last year. Though the amounts of the fees this year have not yet been announced, Since last year, by going from a 1A to a 2A, we saved $32,446. We expect a similar level of savings this year and continuing on. One minor complication of this is that in the letter approving this reduction, the Regional Water Quality Control Board made it very clear that we are expected to continue to sample the residential wells near the landfill. And we are working on getting that permission once again from the same property owners, but we have not yet received it. So we're working on that.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can't negotiate some kind of sunset on that sampling. You know, typically, especially with the North Coast Board, they're used to going after waivers of a nature that do have a sunset. I'm just thinking of the dairy waiver off the top of my head, where we have to do both surface water and groundwater monitoring. In those waivers, sampling took place for a 3-year period. And then once something basically had no status or they didn't find anything, they went away. So if we're not finding something after a 3-year period, my hope would be to reduce that cost significantly by not doing the monitoring because we're not finding anything. So I'm not sure if you could have that conversation, but.
I think it's a really excellent suggestion, and we'll certainly be working in that direction. How this is working now is that the person who's responsible for oversight of the landfill, Gina Morrison at the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board, has quite a backlog of work. And so eventually what we're moving towards is an updated waste discharge requirements permit and an updated monitoring and reporting program for the landfill. So in this process, we expect to change the wells we're sampling and how we're sampling them. And so at that point, I would expect exactly what you're suggesting, which is let's zero down on exactly what it is we're testing and not just continue this on into the future.
Good deal. All right.
The other piece of
There's
good
more
news.
good news.
There's more good news. The other good piece of news is that the CalRecycle approved a reduction in our multiplier for calculating the financial liability associated with the landfill. The liability associated with closed landfill is typically calculated by looking at what is the average maintenance cost and then multiplying that times 30. Under the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, Subtitle D, which is a federal piece of legislation, once a landfill is closed, the owner of that landfill is responsible at least for the next 30 years. Now, of course, several years have gone by since we closed the landfill in 2006, and so we have to apply for a reduction in this multiplier. We've done this successfully and now brought the multiplier down from 30 down to 21. Just in 1 year in approving this multiplier, while it has mostly an impact on our audit and on the assessment of how the financial health of the agency, just that 1 year's approval reduces our liability by $119,500. And since we've started applying for this, the total reduction in liability associated with the Crescent City landfill is $854,276. So this is definitely something that's worth pursuing. And it mostly impacts the authority in that we do have to do the transfer station floor repair sometime in the not too distant future. And so the assessment of the financial health of the agency comes to bear in terms of how much money that's in the bank that we have access to, or what kind of financing we might have to go through in order to get the resources necessary to do that repair.
That's awesome. Good news.
Very good news. This afternoon, I met with consultants regarding the possibility of planting trees at the Crescent City landfill to mitigate some of the activities associated with the airport construction. I think there are some areas that we might be able to work with them on without reducing the potential for future uses of that property. So I expect that conversation to continue. During the coming month, staff intend to follow board direction and promote support for California ballot Proposition 67 in opposition to Proposition 65. And part of the budget transfer that you approved earlier allocates advertising resources to do just that. Next month, we'll be looking at the State of the Agency report. I'll be meeting out at the landfill with Lawrence & Associates investigating some of the wells, working with the Regional Water Quality Control Board regarding an inspection of the landfill, and of course, public notice of the AVA budget. I'd be happy to answer questions about the director's report at this time. And if there are none, I'll move on to the treasurer's report.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Ward?
Good job.
Okay.
All right.
Progress. Mr. Taylor is out of town, so I'll be giving treasurer's report. And cash in bank at the end of July 2016 was just under $820,000 plus the additional nearly $200,000 we have for the last month's rent. So our finances are looking good. Regarding the accounts receivable, you can see that most of our accounts are kept current. Lisa Babcock and Kathy are doing a good job on that. Regarding claims approved by director, of course, our biggest expense is paying Hambro WSG for the good work they do at the Del Norte County Transfer Station. Other large expenses including the purchase of recycle containers for the Crescent City Cultural Center and software upgrade through Creative Information Systems. In general, finances are looking pretty good. This last month was our biggest monthly revenue ever for this agency. And on September 6th, the day after Labor Day, we had 299 customers, which is the most customers we've ever had in a single day. And I will highlight Joseph Hernandez and Haley Smith, who ran that whole day. Biggest day ever. And Kathy, you do the numbers. What was it?
The final total at the end of the day, they were off by 10 cents.
So incredible piece of work, but you have really good staff working for you, and they proved that in spades on that day. I did hand out an updated revenue report. At the time I published using some preliminary numbers, but even so, we are currently we're currently 13.3% ahead of budget. At this point in time, we're about 25,000 ahead of budget from where we anticipated being, and at this point last year, we were 20,000 ahead of budget. So even though we're way ahead of budget, we're doing even better than last year at this point. So that's good. Franchise fees are not quite as far ahead, but we are still ahead of budget by 3.5%.
All right.
Okay?
Any questions regarding our financials? Good.
Okay.
Good report. Thank you.
So moving on to item 6 with the chair's permission.
Yes, please.
Okay, item 6.1 is discussion and possible action regarding a letter of engagement with Patel and Associates to complete an audit for the authority for fiscal year 15-16 for an amount not to exceed $10,500. In our annual budget, we allocated $9,000 for this expense, but last year, Patel and Associates did not charge us that full amount, and I think they charged us like $7,800, so we should be fine even without a budget transfer approving this. It is tradition that the authority hires the same contractor that's doing the external audit for the county, as they will be reviewing through the county many of the same materials that they have to review for our agency, so it's a way of approaching cost savings. And the county is engaging Patel and Associates, so staff recommend authorizing signatures on this letter of engagement with Patel and Associates to complete the annual audit. One last thing I will mention, though I don't expect any change. As a joint powers authority, we are obligated under law and under the joint powers agreement to do one of these external audits every other year. We've been doing them every year. I don't have any problem with doing that.
Yes.
But it is, when looking at cost savings and potential cost savings, it is something that we're not required to do every single year, but we are doing it every year nonetheless.
I'd move to approve as recommended.
All right. I have a motion and a second to approve affixing signatures for this letter of engagement with Patel and Associates for the annual audit. Do you have any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back. Does the board have any other discussion? None? All right, then. Please pull the vote.
One question. Who made the second?
Martha?
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gastineau?
Yes.
Commissioner Naffa?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner McClure?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes. All right, item 6.2, a couple of requests that we have, retroactive.
Yes, they're
one?
both retroactive at this point, and if these are both approved, then this will deplete the remaining authority allocated bin pools. They are using 6 bins to support the annual beach cleanup, which just occurred this past weekend, and retroactive approval of 1 bin supporting the annual household hazardous waste collection event. I've since found out that Hambro WSG has waived their fees for both of those activities. So staff recommend approval, retroactive approval of allocating those 7 bins accordingly.
Awesome. Maybe, I don't know if there's any way of knowing this, Jeremy, do we have any idea how much volume was in the 6 bins for the beach cleanup, or Mr. Ward, either one? I was just
We do.
interested in that.
I would be happy to bring that back at the next meeting. I know that those were all consolidated into a single truck, so I know we know the tonnage, I just don't have it at hand.
I just think it would be good going forward next year if we don't need 6 bins to do this, then, and we can have that bin to be used for something else in the community during the year, I think that would be just something good to take a look at for next year. Were they?
And the reason why there's so many is because there's so many different
Locations.
That was the issue. That's why the bids were spread out so wide, because
Yeah.
there's 6 different locations.
Okay.
So 1 bin to be shared to transport, and it just kind of got.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
They were pretty full.
Good.
The majority of them were, yeah.
That's good news. That means that's all that stuff that's not on our beaches, so fantastic.
And we appreciate Surfrider Foundation for stepping up to
Yes.
that organization, because it was kind of an event in transition.
Yeah.
As we appreciate Joe Gillespie's many years of efforts organizing that event, but now the Surfriders have kind of taken it over, and with Lori Poole's help, I know the Recology was very much engaged in making sure that happened.
Thank you to Recology, thank you to Hambro. Good partnerships, works good for our community. All right, then do I have a motion to approve retroactively these 7 bin pulls?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right,
We get to do something.
we get to do something? Yeah. All right, please pull the vote.
Commissioner Naffa?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner McClure?
Yes.
Commissioner Inscore?
Yes.
Commissioner Gastineau?
Yes, thank you.
All right, I do believe we didn't have anything on the landfill collections or transfer station. We've already addressed our abandoned vehicle abatement service authority issues. We do have a closed session item. All of you should have received last year's performance evaluation consolidated report on our director. No. You didn't? You should have got an email from our attorney. And so, and if you will, please check your email. If you did not, I will make sure that it gets sent again. If you look at when you pull
Yeah,
up
I
the
got
file,
mine.
it looks like this. There'll be one like this that's already filled out, and then a blank one. You need to do this work and have it done because this is due by the 1st of November, which means that we need to have this together by our next meeting, please. Okay, if you have any questions about that, you can see me or see our attorney. There it is.
I can resend
I think,
that email with instructions. Yeah.
And for the board's information, I will be preparing a state of the agency report for the next month's agenda. So if you haven't already filled that out and you wanted to wait until you saw that report, that would be okay. But it'll be coming out with the next agenda.
that is fine, but please get started on your work.
It's like herding cats, good luck.
I know. We do not have to go into closed session. We don't have any closed session items to deal with, other than you have homework to do.
I don't know about the rest, but I would assume, Chris, this might be the first time on this one, but it is the first time for me. I wouldn't mind having a closed session for like 5 or 10 minutes, just to, just to, even 5 minutes, just to sort of what you're looking for, because when I looked at it, it looked a little different than what I would have thought of.
All righty?
go, I forgot to bring this up during the vehicle abatement, but one of the contracts meeting, we're supposed to meet quarterly. So I don't know if we've been doing that. I just saw that in the contract. Okay.
The AVA is to meet quarterly, and one of the reasons would be to approve expenses, so.
All right, we are going to then adjourn into closed session. I do not anticipate, says we have no action items, that we will do anything. You're certainly welcome to stick around and wave at us when we come back, but there will be nothing to report. We are officially done, with the exception of the fact that when we come back, I will officially adjourn our meeting. But for all practical purposes, unless Mr. Ward has anything else.
Oh, I'm just curious as to whether or not you would like me in the closed session or not.
Mr. Naffa, you asked the question. I would,
I would say if you want to be available in case we want to bring you in, but we could get started, otherwise.
Sure, that's fine.
so stick around for a couple minutes. All right, thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah.